Hey man, how you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. Is my audio all right?
Yeah, I hear you perfect. You're good.
Yeah, this thing has been giving me difficulties. Freaking $150 for these bone mic
Yeah,
Bluetooth headset, and then I don't know. My computer is like 7 years old, so maybe that's the problem.
they don't like each other.
No, absolutely not. Awesome. Are you at Squad Up Summit?
No, no, I would love to have been. I need to get proof of concept before I take time off and spend money to go out to squat up.
Yeah.
My goal is to get there next year.
No, that's good. It was I think my second year in
Yeah,
the community that I went to, like larger meetups and all that. Everything else was just local. And
yeah,
yeah, I've been talking with a lot of folks. Obviously, I'm not there either. And it's like you have to go there with intention, and you have to find the people that actually have what you need and who need what you have. Otherwise, yeah, you're just kind of chasing your tail and just meeting with people, and there's only so many hours in the day. So,
yeah, yeah. So
Good
hopefully,
morning.
get some stuff going.
hey Liz, what's going on?
I'm good. Yourself? Thanks for having me, guys.
Oh, welcome, welcome. You're not at Squad Up Summit either, huh?
I can't afford it right now.
See,
No, I was just telling Chris, like, yeah, give it time. It's not going anywhere. They're just getting bigger and better, and it's just amazing.
Yeah, I
And
just joined 3 weeks ago. So
oh
and
wow,
don't worry about it.
I was looking at everything and doing too many things at the same time. So I had to let everything go and go back to my courses, stay focused. Um, I do have a background in finance and I also real estate in Canada, but I want to advance to the state.
Yeah. Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
welcome 3 weeks. You're probably treading water, trying to keep your head above it.
More like it, yeah.
it's like drinking from a fire hose.
There's so many things going on at the same time.
Yes. Pick you one certain thing and stick with it.
Yeah. So I was looking at before I joined this sub two, I was looking at multi-units, RV and mobile homes and co-living. That's it. And I know how to underwrite. That's what for 22 years I was a personal banking officer with Scotiabank and Bank of Montreal. So I know how to do that. It's just different country, different rules. So I don't know anything.
Yeah, it's important that, when we get into this, we're like, oh, I'm an investor and I'm going to do all these things. And we're creating these limited liability companies or these S corporations, and we forget these are businesses in and of themselves. And so when we want to go and do this and do that and do that, it's like
Mm.
there's no focus in order to actually build a business. We're just treating it as almost like a shell corporation to hold these properties, and then we're kind of like doing it. And sometimes we have to take a step back and,
Yeah.
to Chris's point, just like focus on one thing, do it
Mhm.
right, build that business, put a manager in front of it, and then move to the next thing.
Awesome.
So no, welcome and keep going, keep going. Sherry, what's going on? Welcome.
Hi there. Can you
I,
hear me okay?
Yeah, I love the background. I have to get a better one. I was just thinking about how
Oh,
to actually spruce it up, and in my background it's just blurred because I got a bunch of whiteboards. But no, it's good.
thank you. Thank you. Yeah, that was something I wanted to do. But I am, let's see, I'm assuming we're just kind of doing introductions. How long this is sub two group, right? Or people are participating in sub two mentorship or
Correct. Yeah, I've just been advertising these Zooms for the community. Um, Frankly, I don't like dealing with a lot of riffraff, and like we all speak kind of the same language, and we're all after the same things. And when I was opening it up to like different things, people just came in with mindset blocks, and it just got a little, I don't know, distracting to deal with. So I only like to work with people inside the community right
oh, okay. Okay. I wasn't sure. I belong to a bunch of different groups. So I was just making sure. So I've been in sub 2 this year. I think in October will be 3 years. By day, I'm a director for a large ophthalmology group in Southern California. But I live and work in Arizona. So, and not in the fun part of Arizona near Phoenix, near Pace. No, I actually am in Northern Arizona. I'm closer to Vegas. So I've been participating with a lot of different groups within sub 2. I've been admins on certain groups like Michael Menescatian. I was an admin on his group for a while, and just recently moved from California to Arizona last year. So I made my primary at the time into a rental. So I have a California rental, and I'm looking to eventually make this house that I bought also a rental, and it's in Kingman, Arizona. So right now I'm focusing on co-living, strictly on co-living. I'm researching the Vegas market because I'm closest to Vegas. I know you don't need to be close to your area, but I just don't know why I feel more comfortable having proximity to the property that I'm going to invest in. So that's about an hour and a half away from me. And I know Vegas is a pad split market. So I'm focusing on that. I basically took all, and I hope this is okay to share. I basically took like all the data that's within pad split for the Vegas market, put it all into like a worksheet for every single zip code, and then narrowed down like how fast to get to 80% filled for that particular one and things like that. So really just focusing, trying to start to develop teams, figure out lenders and things like that for co-living. So I'm going all in. I'm only focusing on that. Definitely have a lot of FOMO for not attending the Squat Up Summit. So just trying to live vicariously through others by watching all the videos and everything going on in Squat Up. But anyway, that's kind of in the gist of what I'm doing and what my goals are for the future.
No, that's awesome. And to your point, yeah, it's I only am looking to increase my holdings in Colorado Springs specifically because it is my backyard. It's more comfort. I'm trying to work on my co-living systems and processes. And then once I have those, now I can go and I can go into other markets, and instead of just trying to work on the entire business all at one time, just like kind of, building it out slowly and then just finding, where you can go from there. Oh, excellent. And welcome. Yeah, I joined in November of 22, so almost there with you. Is it Marinelle or Marinella?
Yes, sorry.
Oh,
It's
you're good.
Marnell.
Welcome.
Hi. I finally got on. I'm so happy.
Yeah, no, I was having it on Fridays, and I'm like, let's switch up days because I know it's really difficult during the week. And then, it's also like, well, it's the weekend as well. Maybe some people don't want to work. But no, welcome.
Thank you
What are
so
you
much.
working on?
So I've been in sub 2 since 2020, 2021, 2020, I think. And
Dang.
yeah. And I've been flipping since then. I was flipping out in Southern California, like Long Beach. I moved out to St. Louis, Missouri, and was doing it out there to try to hold properties as well. And then I came back to California, did one more, and now I'm in Tempe, Arizona. Ideally, what I'd like to do, what I'm working on right now, is finding co-living properties out in the like Phoenix metro area. I'm finding some stuff, which is great, but I think right now, my underwriting, I think, is pretty good. Like I try to get advice from other people that are operating co-living properties on their underwriting numbers, and it kind of varies. Like I've heard different people say like, oh, my expense ratio is like, 10% or something. And then another guy's like, no, it's like 40 or 50. And I'm like, that's a big swing. So just kind of wanted to jump on here and get with like-minded people and see what you guys are finding out and compare notes and stuff, and see if any of us have aligned goals we could work together on an upcoming project. But yeah, ideally what I'd like to do is get my first co-living holding, and I don't mind if I have to JV or even just be like a really tiny equity partner on it. hopefully by summertime. So thanks for
Oh,
doing
that's
this, by the
excellent.
way, John. Thank you.
I've only been doing co-living as a way forward for affordable housing since August. Um, I don't use pad split, so I find out just as much from you all as I hope that I can bring, because I've been very narrow-minded. That's not a good way to put it. I've been focusing on like how the different strategies and how to actually get after serving the populations I want to in the co-living space and affordable housing space. So um, I'll just give you some of my things, please. People who have different units, or like, hey, that won't work in this market for whatever reason. All of those different little tips, tricks, SOPs, those things are excellent for the space. So yeah, I just like to make friends with people in the space because it's very powerful. Welcome. Who else is lurking in the back? Joe, are you on?
Yes,
Hey, what's up,
I
Joe? How
am
you doing?
on. Let's see, how do I turn this on? I'm all right, man. How's it going? I appreciate you putting this stuff together.
Oh, it's good. Yeah, and I think the weekends are a lot better because I'm seeing different faces and some OGs on here that have been in the space for a while. So there we go. How you
There we
doing?
go. Gonna get it on.
What are
Not
you
bad.
working on?
So we have, I guess it's co-living. It's kind of funny. It's not like so I'm like, we were doing real estate, myself and Jacob, who's also in Sub 2, my business partner. We were just started doing real estate, prior to getting into Sub 2. I got into Sub 2 because we were just trying to figure out, creative funding, because we were like, hey, like, how can we do this without like bootstrapping, hundreds of thousands of dollars in down payments all the time? So yeah, we have uh 6 properties, 7 including residential. We're closing on number 8 right now. Just put an offer in on number 9. But we house homeless. So I mean, it's co-living, but we specifically focus on homeless. So we do we're a vendor through social services. It just kind of happened, and I was interested in seeing that people do co-living. I was like, oh wow, I was like, I wonder if co-living is easier than what we do, because I think what we do is actually very challenging, because you're dealing with people that are in the toughest place of their life. So sometimes it can be really fulfilling, and then other times it can be like it can just be brutal. I can get into details on that stuff, but I mean, I don't want to go, without going too crazy.
No,
But
you're good. And I think it was your post earlier in the week that I wanted to make sure that we can get you on and talk about this, because it's one of those things that when people are talking about like housing homeless, I don't think that immediately strikes people as appealing, especially investors. Like having your why and setting that up, but I mean you have to be profitable, otherwise you're just paying out of your pocket. So if it'd be okay with everybody else, Joe has been a guy I've been meaning to just talk with on this subject, because funding is like a very serious aspect of co-living, and then also how are we getting paid on the month to month. And when it comes to me, I'm looking at nonprofits, and they are paying percentages of everybody's rooms and all that. So Joe, please.
that's awesome. I mean, I haven't worked with, the only times I've worked with nonprofits is emergency shelters. And they don't pay for anything. I'm sure there are nonprofits that we could partner with. I'd love to learn about that stuff. What we run into is a person. Well, I guess I'll give you a little bit of a overview first. I am in Long Island in New York, right? I live in Suffolk County. Suffolk County happens to have this program for homeless. So there's a social services. You go to social services and you say, hey, I don't have food, I don't have a place to live, and then you fill out an application. You go through a eligibility process for 30 to 45 days to get public assistance. So those people, based on that public assistance, will get their rent paid for, their food, they'll get food stamps, SNAP they call it now, and then also cash assistance. So those numbers will come out to $309 a month for rent, $91.50 for cash assistance every 2 weeks, and usually $292 or $297 or something like that for SNAP, right? And then we do another program called the Safety Net Supplemental Shelter Program, where social services will come and inspect your house, and based on people that qualify, they'll pay an additional $316 in rent. So it becomes $625 a person. And our rooming comes out to their square footage. So we know that social services, based on New York State and the town, their agreements, that it's 70 square feet per person, single. But once you have multiple people, it's 50 square feet. So they get a bed and a locker. You know, if that room is 110 square feet, 103 square feet, whatever it is. There's obviously other things that go into it. You know, is it a straight four walls? Is there a bit of an angle on this wall next to the door? You lose 5 square feet for the door swing. So you start to like learn all these little things. And, you know, our being in the safety net program, and they come and inspect, we have a smoke detector in every room, every hallway. We have a CO detector in all the rooms. You know, we like the place is decked out, and all that type of stuff. Your screens can't have a hole or a rip in them. They're checking the dust in the fans in the bathroom. You know, every little detail that you can think of. But if you do the right thing and you keep the houses clean, you know, which you have to do through the tenants mostly, you are, you're in good shape. You know, they pass. Even if I have a couple of things that aren't on par, you know, the inspector's going to be like, hey, just take care of this, and this. You guys are good. You're passed. And we always do. We always take care of it, because he comes back with his list and he sees that we did everything that he wanted us to do. And yeah, so, you know, on average, we'll do certain houses. You know, I have a house with 13 people in it. I have a house with 19 people in it, based on the square footage. So we average around 9,500 a month on each house. You know, right now, the 6th house just got filled. Is it the 6th one that got filled? No, the 5th one that got filled. The 6th one is just finishing rehab. It's going to get filled in 2 weeks. So, you know, the beginning portion of it can be a little bit slow that first month, because they're going to give you rent guarantees for that 309 until you pass, but they back pay you. So depending on if those cases are open or not open already, you'll get back paid on that SSP. It's called that safety net program. So there's a couple of things. I've learned casework. I go to social services myself with the clients. I fill out the paperwork. I do the casework. I write down my name on the stuff. They know me when I go in there. I bring donuts every month. You can get 50, you know, the munchkins in the box. I bring 2 by. They get 100 of them. They're so happy to see me. I'm happy to see them. You know, they are normally very rude behind those windows, because they're dealing with people that are, you know, to be as candid and transparent as possible. People that are usually some sort of drug addict, substance abuse. You know, they've been to jail. They've been, you know, they might be on parole. There's so many different factors that could be happening with these people. They're down and out as far as they go. They were living in tents, most of them too, you know, out in the woods behind. And usually when they're living in tents, again, to be transparent as possible, they were probably addicted to crack. You know, that's just what it is in a lot of these scenarios. And then I have scenarios where Miss Mary is legally blind. Lisa lost her house in a fire. Luis was scammed out of her pension online, scamming. So, you know, some of these such scenarios, or, you know, Holly has CPOD and she's got other disabilities where she, you know, has to use a walker, things like that. They don't have family to support. So they end up in these scenarios. So you have a lot of those as well. So it's, you know, it's a lot of personalities. It's a lot of, it's very interesting. I think it's very different than what people usually picture as co-living or do as co-living, or maybe it's not, because I don't know much about co-living. When I saw the people doing co-living, I said, wow, this is, I wonder if I'd rather do co-living than do what I do, because my phone might go off at 9 o'clock at night because the cops are there. And there was a, you know, a fight in the house because, you know, someone stole Baron's egg. You know, there could be, you know, Julie's grapes. Someone moved Julie's grapes, and like she called the cops because of it. They know not to do that. And actually, I'll tell you. So why we do this, as you guys know, New York is a tenant-friendly state, right? If you talk to people, New York is an awful place to do investments. People will tell you, right? For us, it works out really great for this particular reason. We wanted to get into helping people. So Jacob is a retired senior master sergeant in the Air Force. He's a soon-to-be retired New York City fireman with the FDNY. I'm a retired health professional, and we've both had our own problems throughout our life. When I didn't have a place to go, I stayed literally at Jacob's and my business partners, and other friends even before that. I luckily didn't have to end up in one of these houses before I got myself back together. But sorry, long story short, we are a vendor of social services. These are clients of social services. So their rent that they pay us is based on a 30-day cycle, day to day. So if they send somebody to me with 2 days left in the month, they're gonna rent voucher out the month, and they're gonna send me whatever that is. I think $10.30 a day for those 2 days, and then I got to get a new rent voucher on the first of the month or whatever it is. I got to take them back down depending what's going on with their case. Because of that, first time we had a problem with someone, and I learned this beforehand because we had a management company that kind of taught us how to do this, where you have a problem with the tenant. I called DSS just to confirm. I said, hey, this person causing problems in the house, things like that. What's my steps? And they said, just write them an eviction notice and drop them off at DSS. And I said, that's it? And they were like, yeah, that's it. So I literally show up when someone is breaking the rules in the house. And we have rules. We have whiteboards in the house. We have very specific rules about things. And they break rules. We give them warnings or whatever it is, depending what the situation is. And I just show up. We have a, it's typed out, and then I have to handwrite certain parts of the eviction notice. I show up with black garbage bags. I pack their stuff. I put them in the car. I bring them down to DSS, and they give them the eviction notice to get placed wherever it might have to be, if it's back in the shelter or a new rooming house or something like that. So in New York, we have an incredible amount of flexibility because I move someone out of that bed and they call me 9:30 in the morning every single day. I have more relationships now, so it doesn't matter. And I have no blip. They just fill the bed.
Wow. Okay. So lot to unpack.
Yeah. Sorry.
So,
It's
it's awesome.
It's a lot of stuff. So where to start? I don't even know where to start. I
don't think he's out today, but that's okay. Yeah, DFW. There was a gentleman on, Andres, and you have to talk about the issues going into co-living, because you're not dealing with one family in one roof. You're talking about a lot of people, and you said you have like a house with 19 people in it.
Yeah, 19 ladies in that house, man, and one kitchen, big kitchen. It's a big house. I don't know. It's big as far as the standards go. It's almost 2,400 square feet, but you've got, and you got open dorm rooms. So I don't know how co-living usually goes. I have a room that the square footage fits 6 beds. I have 2 other rooms, the square footage fits 4 beds. And, that's the standard. That's what they put forth through New York and the county. And they come in and the inspector measures, and they make sure everything is up to par, and that's it. And sometimes they tell us like, hey, like, you got to remove one bed out of here when that person goes, it's a little crammed. Or they'll say, hey, we could really use 2 more beds down here, and we'll be like, well, we give them an extra common area. So you kind of figure that stuff out together. We rip out closets. What happens with closets, we learned, is that they get filled with junk. So from a square footage standpoint, we just rip every closet out of every bedroom when we're doing a rehab, because that's how we do it. We do hard money. Right now we've built good relationships. So we at 90-10, we got to put 10% down, and we go in and we're normally getting stuff where the ARV is, around 60, 65. And we have our own guys. We actually hire our own tenants. You'd be surprised that you end up with these people that homeless because of whatever reason, usually some kind of substance abuse that they hopefully recovered from. And usually when they're in recovery, they're super talented. I have guys that can do plumbing, electrical, framing, you name it. So we redo whole houses with these guys, and we're able to give them, pay them, give them jobs. So that becomes pretty cool. That's like a very fulfilling part.
So this is not a part-time thing at all. It sounds like it's at least 12 hours a day sometimes. You're on call, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Where, okay,
Yeah.
so let's go to the beginning real quick. And you've said it multiple times. Get inside the books, get into the county laws, get into all of these programs and read where you fit in between the lines, right? Like, hey, this says this, and the county's willing to pay this. And then find that person to talk to, bring them donuts or, be a person and treat them as people. And then you develop this relationship. And through that, that is where you're getting a lot of your momentum, a lot of your traction. And you said something, it was kind of offhand, but it was like, hey, these people are coming in, these inspectors are coming in and telling you how to increase your value because of the relationship that you've developed.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. They'll come in and and like I said, it can go both ways. Because they are there. When you learn to think like them, then you can very easily all be on the same page, right? Number one thing is going to be safety. What does the house look like if you have 15, 16, 17 people in a house and there's a fire? What does it look like, the pathways to get out of the house? Is everything egressed properly? We finish basements and we'll put in, sometimes we'll have two egresses we always have two egresses actually in a basement, because you have normal where you would go down, up and down the stairs, whatever. And then we do another egress to the outside, and we do big ones. Because you never know if you're going to have someone overweight or things like that, but everything is to code. We go over code is actually what we do. We go over code. So once you nail in safety and the flow of like, okay, what does it look like? Are people in each other's way? Do they have enough space? And, you'll have conversations. I've had inspectors come in and say to me, like, they need more closet space. I said, if I get them more bigger lockers, what are they going to do with it? And they're like, they're just going to fill it with more shit. And I'm like, exactly. Like so they're like, okay, I see, I get it. Don't bother, but sometimes, you're going to right. It's not necessarily what's required, but you're going to do it because it makes sense, right? So like, depending on the size of the kitchen, you want to say, okay, how many shelves does somebody have in a cabinet? And maybe that house has more cookers in it. I have a house of ladies, like two of them cook, and like they barely use the kitchen. And then I have another house of ladies where I swear every single one of them is cooking all day long, but they also clean all day long. Like they're like, it's just completely different scenario. So like, and that I buy those 72-inch steel 5-shelf cabinets. They're like 130, 140 bucks on Amazon. And like, okay, boom, this one's going to go outside your room. And like, now you guys can all have extra cabinet space here for food and canned food and things like that. But they will. So social services, they are getting, and it's different everywhere because it's not in every state and it's not in every county. It's different everywhere. You'd have to find out. They're getting screamed at all day long. They're getting pressure from ours is Albany, our capital, right? They're getting pressure on these things all day long. So if you can relieve the pressure from social services, they're going to prioritize you. They've done it now. I've met with the commissioner. I've had them walk through my own properties to do partnerships with nonprofits of where a shelter might be taking over one of the properties we're looking to close on now. So I've had the commissioner, deputy commissioner, the VP of that nonprofit. They do 60 million a year. Half of their revenue is in grants. And they want to work with us because they know that we're the complete opposite of a lot of the slumlords. There's straight slumlords in this game. They know that they can just collect checks and they'll let people do crack in the house, sell drugs out of the house, anything they want. They'll let it happen. They don't care. They're getting the check. And Jacob and I, we run a clean house. We have discernment based on different types of people. If you run into things and stuff, and you can do warnings, you can do stuff, you try to help guys. One of the things that has worked out for us is I'll have a guy, because it worked on the first person, is I'll have a guy say they're sober in the house. Rich was in there for 8 months, sober, great guy, great tenant, fell off the wagon. I see him in the room. Guys are sending me pictures. He is nodding off. It is obviously fentanyl, dope, something like that. So I go in there with an eviction notice, and I hand him an eviction notice, and I say, Rich, you got two options. You pack up all your stuff and you go down to DSS to get new housing, or you check yourself into rehab and in 28 days, I'll have a bed for you again. If you come back clean, I'll give you another shot. And he did. That's happened a couple of times. So that's like a really great thing to help you keep going, because evicting people is just, it's never ever fun, especially when it's like an older lady that's got incontinence and she's a little nutty, but like there's, she's wet in the bed and it's ruining the whole house, and everything smells, and they're cleaning up after her, and people are starting to get into fights because of it, and she can't stay. It's like she needs support. She needs some sort of other assisted living. You can't put her in a room and board like this. Like, it's not fair to the rest of the house. When I was a coach, I coached basketball for years. And, one of the biggest things I learned is that like you can't sacrifice the other 14 players on a 15-player roster because one player is a mess. It's like, if it's not a good fit, it's not a good fit. So that stuff is, it's a tough part, but it's just, you got to be thick skin. I've been called things. I think it's just what it is. I have so many stories, so many ridiculous stories.
Yeah, no, and before I hand it over to Liz, I got one thing to play off of what you said about just being a person and being engaging. I love it when I am at the airport and somebody is yelling at the person that is behind that counter, because I know as soon as that person walks away, it's my time to shine. I need to, like, it was ridiculous. I walk into the aircraft from last Squad Up Summit. I need to post these pictures. And all I said was hi and engage with them, ask them how their day was. I got moved to the emergency aisle. I got 5 drinks. I got a whole plethora. The guy, the steward, he brought me his personal jerky, like that he was going to eat for his lunch, all because I was just engaging and treated him as another person. So it was wild. I
It's
need
the
to
secret
share
sauce,
those
man.
pictures.
But yeah, they're getting into riffs back and forth all the time, and I tell them, I say, hey, like, it's not worth it. I'm like, anything they ask me to do, I just do it. I'm like, you guys, they'll start to get into it with me, the people behind the window at DSS, and I'm like, hey, we're on the same team. You ask me to do paper, you want me to change something in it, I'm just gonna do it. It's all good. I have no reason to fight with you. And now when they see me go in there, they're like, oh, great, Joe's here. They'll bump my people to the front of the line because they know all my paperwork, everything is in line. And if they need something from me, I'm just going to do it.
Liz, you've had your hand up.
Hi,
What's going
Joe. Thanks for sharing, by the way. Concerning the one with the 19 and the one with the 13, do you have a house sitter, someone that stays here that cleans the place out?
Such a good question. So good. So we have particular people, and this always creates animosity in the house. We have particular people that clean more than other people. So you're probably going to get your most text messages and complaints from those people that do the majority of cleaning because they're upset with the other people. And I constantly tell them, listen, don't get into it with everybody. Don't clean up after them. Like, if you don't clean up after them, I'll see it and then I'll take care of it with them. But if you're cleaning up after them, I don't see that they're leaving a mess. I have no idea. You just let me know right away and I can be on top of it, because I'll do like the shelters do. I learned this from the shelters, the emergency shelters. I'll walk in and I see dirty dishes out, dirty Tupperware, things like that. They're leaving food out. I just throw stuff out. Their pans, things like that. You learn, just throw it out. Okay, it's going in the garbage. Then they're walking around. They're like, I don't have dishes. I don't have plates. This and that. Everything. Well, it wasn't clean. And that's it. So you have to be a little bit ruthless with that stuff. And then usually we end up buying them more plates or pans or dishes or things like that and stuff for them. But they get the point of where they're like, okay, I can't just leave a mess. We've tried house sitters, house managers, it's called. We've tried that. At this level, with these people's mental capacity, for the most part, you're going to get a major dictatorship. They turn into a nasty of like crazy person, like when you make them a house manager. So I've learned that if Jacob and I are the house manager, that there becomes more of a community than somebody running the house. They start to run the house together. And it might even be in cliques. Sometimes it might be 5 or 6 of them that they do things a certain way. And they don't even necessarily care about how messy or anything or other people might be. They just know that it's better than having somebody in there that's not ODing. or like something else that's crazy. So yeah, great question. We literally learned no house sitter, no house manager. I'm the one, because I will walk in with the eviction notice and put your stuff in black bags and take you down to DSS if you're not listening at all.
Can that get controversial or I guess contentious? Because you're the landlord, you're the one that's coming in and doing all that, or is it's just understood? Like they're in this world and they kind of just understand.
Yeah. And
Okay.
both. For the most part, it's that most for the most part, it's they get it. They're in this world and they understand. They are the you get to a point of where a lot of them are grateful because they're in the hardest time of their life and they're grateful, and we do as much as we physically can. I'm going to take you know, Marianne, Lisa, you know, they've got walkers. They've got, you know, I'm taking them to Walmart. I'm taking them to Stop and Shop. And I'm going to sit in the parking lot for 30, 45 minutes while they can go and get the things they need to get. You know, they know that like, oh, it's a little bit warm in here. And, it's, you know, and I'm going to show up with a fan. I'm going to show up with, you know, like Awilda, she's got stage 4 cancer. And, you know, she wanted a nice closet, we made sure she had a single room. And, you know, I built her a closet, got a rack in there for her, bought her hangers. We hung her a TV for herself, even though you only have TVs we got her one for her room thing. You know, it's part of our rules. So, our two main, our mission, the two main key points of our mission is the house has to be someplace safe where people can actually grow and, you know, get to where they feel they need to get to, a safe place. And then we only take people that want to be helped. So if you're doing all the behaviors outside of our rules where it shows you don't want help, you just want to be selfish and you only care about you can't be in one of our houses. But if you're about the community of the house and you want help, we're going to help you. We're going to be, that's why we are like on call all the time, because we do everything we can to like help try to hopefully get these people out of the situation they're in. You can't do everything, but you do the best you can.
Yeah. So, and there's a point on refinancing of your hard money loan. So you go in with intention, you build these relationships with the county. Tell us about how you are actually going into it, because you said you use hard money loans. Can you like walk the dog on what that looks like on the financing part?
Yeah. So at first it was very challenging, but we started to get access to houses because people are starting to know Jacob and I, and they know that we can get them done. So, you know, we've been meeting different types of realtors or wholesalers or people like that come, they're like, hey, I got a house. So we'll get stuff off market now, often, at a really good price. So we get approved, you know, 90-10, and then there's construction holdback. So we got to come up with 10% down. Then we pick the amount. You know, we do a walkthrough. We know what needs to be done. Okay, I got to take down this wall. I got to redo this kitchen. I know what's going to look the best on the appraisal, to be able to get us the highest ARV. So we get it done, and our seasoning is 3 months. So we're going to get the rehab done. You know, we'll do a $75,000 rehab in 45 days. And then we'll start the process of the refi for that. What is it for that 45 days? I'm trying to even think of my math, right? So you close, you're good, you're in there, you fix it, 45 days, and then you can on the 91st day, I guess it is the 91st day, you can close on the new loan. So we never get our money back, which is how I ended up in sub 2. We get some of it back. So, you know, for example, we just did 26 Mariches in Mastic. We just did a rehab in there. It cost us over 50 grand. After we do the refi, we're supposed to get about 30 of it back. And then, you know, we'll try to roll that into the next house. So you're always going to like lose money on it, but you're always going to have some equity. Like that house appraised at 675, and we're going to do it at a 75 LTV. So 506 will be the new loan. And a big part of that, man, is the closing costs. You're spending 30 to 40 grand on closing costs on the hard money, and then you're spending another 30 grand on the refi. It's brutal. It makes me sick to think about how much you're giving away on closing costs all the time. But there's no other way to get it done. So it's just the way we We met a lender that, you know, he owns the company. We met him and he kind of taught us the way he does it. He does it a little bit different because he's not buying houses like the size that we buy. He gets smaller ones. And then because of that, we've met other lenders because we know what we're talking about now. And they're like, hey, we're willing to do this or this. And, you know, you just try to find the best relationships to get it done. But yeah, they're just 90-10 refi out of it in 3 months after you rehab. And yeah, try to go again. Try to get the
And
next one.
it's a DSCR on the backside to get out
On
from
the
underneath it.
refi.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Have you been reaching out to a lot of the DSCR brokers inside of the community?
Yeah, it's funny. Many I spoke to, they're like, I can do this, I can do this. I talk to them and they're like, oh, we don't do New York. But
Okay.
you know, the thing that I learned too is that with DSCR, for the most part, it's who you want to work with, who do you vibe with, because they've all got the same relationships. They're all dealing with the same banks. So when they're brokering out your DSCR, they're brokering it out to the same lender that all the other DSCRs are brokering it out to. Maybe some of them have more relationships, but like you might find, you know, like for example, we've got Kareem, we've got Frankie. Like Frankie has certain relationships with these DSCRs that like we want to do that loan, versus where Kareem has certain relationships where I'm like, oh, I want to do, you know, like Frankie doesn't have the 80% ones and he doesn't even bother with it because it's a higher rate. Where Kareem has a little better relationship, so it's like it's worth us to go through him if we wanted to get 80 LTV.
Oh, that's good. Marinelle, if you want to unmute and have a conversation with Joe on this, you have such great questions. No, please.
Okay, yeah, I didn't want to butt in because I know that I'm not the only one in here. Joe, thanks for sharing. That's really cool. Like I would love to get into something like that. That just sounds like you're doing a whole lot, and that's awesome to help people. I just know that I don't know if the neighborhoods that you're buying your houses in, do you have issues with neighbors? Like, do you have to get conditional use permits? You know, things like that just to run your house? Because I know that some areas are a little more strict than others.
Such a great question. So we do low income areas because there's other DSS houses in that area. There's like it's just, you know, it's known there's squatters in that area, and then I can start to scoop more houses in that radius, so I don't have to be like traveling all over the island. Like I know that like in this area I'm going to be able to do these houses. I have a particular house that the neighbor hates us. He calls the town on us every single day. And to be fully transparent, we filled the house before we had the rental permit because we got to get paid. It doesn't like, I can't wait. Normally we can do it. I have an expediter. It's another thing I highly recommend. I know I can go to the town and get my own rental permit for like $300 to $400 or whatever it is, $300 to $500. I pay our expediter over $2,000 to do the rental permit, because when we do run into problems, I've had the town show up to the house because we didn't have permits finished yet. And we were like, no, Tracy, we work with Tracy, and she submitted it. He go, oh, Tracy, I'll text her right now. I'll see you guys. So like, that's like, to me, worth all, you know, it's its weight in gold right there.
Right.
So that, yes, you have neighbors, right? People hear me. I make this joke all the time. Oh, what do you do for a living? I help home. Oh, that's so amazing. You house homeless, this and that, and everything. Once you're my neighbor, you don't want me around at all. You can't stand me.
Right.
Although my houses are clean. Like you know what I mean? You're not even, I don't let them loiter in the front. I don't let them hang out. They want to smoke, things like that. I put up an easy up by the back, like to protect from the rain and the elements. You know, we keep everything back there. You're allowed to go out in the front. You're allowed to go walk or things like that stuff, but you can't be hanging out there. I don't want arguments, none of that nonsense. So no special permits. What's interesting about New York is it's a tenant friendly state. So if I don't have any CO issues, and we make sure everything's clean, we get our CO issues done, we get our permits done, we get everything done. We usually don't have it all in place before we fill the house, but like we're not worried about getting dinged in the first 30 days, except with that one guy because he was nuts. Since you're in a tenant friendly state, if all your permits are good and all your COs and everything, they can't just remove people. They can't just kick us out. They would have to go through a whole, you know, crazy process because everything's legit, everything's fine. You know, they'd have to find a way to like condemn the house because of whatever, kind of chaos was happening in there. You know, nothing was cleaned up. There's dead animals, or, you know, like that's, you know, why, all the reasons they would condemn a house. But yeah,
That's
I think that's what you asked me.
Yeah, that's super interesting. I didn't even think about it that way, like flipping it, because I'm from California, right? So it's super tenant friendly there, right? And so I didn't even think about that it's going to be hard for anyone to get your people out of the house because it's
I
tenant,
learned that.
right?
I learned it from the shelter.
That's
So
crazy.
the nonprofit organizations were like, look, like once you have the everything CO'd and all the permits are good, and we're your tenant, they can't get us out because it's a tenant friendly state. And I was like, oh my gosh, I never thought of it that way. So
Yeah.
yeah, I learned it from them.
That's such a good thing. Like,
That's
hey, you know, my hands are tied. The state, you know, I can't. Sorry. Oh,
But
that's
you
a
don't
good way to
have
flip.
any issues evicting if you have to evict any of your tenants from, you don't have any issues doing that, but other people can't technically, quote unquote, evict you guys from the house, correct?
Yeah, because so my house is JC26 LLC. JC26 LLC has a lease with Garden East Properties.
Okay.
Garden East Properties is my management company. And then my management company is the vendor with social services that takes clients, that gives clients a bed in the houses. So those clients are on a day-to-day lease, if you want to call it. It's not actually a lease. They're on a day-to-day contract
Right.
in the house. So that's why social services is like, you know, you can just drop them off, just bring them down here. You know, could they fight you on it or things like that or stuff? They might be able to, the tenant, like if they were savvy or enough or things like that, they could try to do things to stay in the house. But, you know, ultimately they don't want to, because the other, in a 15-person house, the other 14 people are going to make them miserable.
Right.
So it's,
So like
yeah,
with co-living, people call them members, right? So that's kind of what you're doing with your people. But yeah, I guess if they're not really tenants because your LLC is the tenant, then you're not really subletting the house on paper, right? It's just you're assisting as a vendor, social services.
exactly. I'm a vendor of social services. I have audio on my cameras, and you know, that's the other thing that's going to happen is you're going to make friends with the precincts, because they're going to get called to the house. They're going to learn who you are. We're very lucky. You know, I've got a history of dealing with people as a health professional. I ran offices, and then I also was in management, Apple retail. So I got very comfortable dealing with people. And Jacob has every criteria you'd want on paper as far as being a retired senior master sergeant, and he's FDNY. So, you know, the cops are like, oh, these are normal guys. These aren't slumlords running this. So like, I've had people I evicted that I remember this one girl, Hannah, she called the cops. She was like, they're kicking me out of the house. And they were like, uh, is this your stuff here? They're like, this is your eviction notice? And they're like, yeah. And they're like, well, you got to call emergency housing. And I'm able to listen to it on the audio from the camera. And I was like, perfect. I was like, the cops know exactly how this works. This is
Right.
great.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's
And
crazy.
again, you're evicting people for real things.
Right.
We're not kicking someone out. I'm like, I don't like her. You know, I don't want her here anymore. You know, you're kicking them out because they refuse to pay rent. They refuse to stay up on on top of their case. They refuse to, and usually they're doing those things because of some sort of alcohol, substance abuse. You know, if they are on SSI, so that's another factor. I mention that too in a second. SSI, SSDI, they're getting the money sent to them. It's not going directly to vendor. When it's through social services, through the SSP program, they send the checks to me. But otherwise, that person gets the money. When that person's money starts disappearing and they're not prioritizing paying rent, it's because they're buying pills or whatever, things like that.
Right.
So then you get to the bottom of that. And I'm telling you, what's crazy is we do a lot of warnings and we help people where there's many times when I go to evict somebody because I've already had the conversation and I'm like, hey, like, you got to go. And they're like, I get it. You know, and an interesting thing is embarrassment. These people don't want to be embarrassed. If I go and evict someone in front of everybody else, it might be a big problem. My easiest evictions are when they're not home. I pack up all their stuff. I leave it on the front porch and I send them a text and I say, hey, Your stuff's all packed on the front porch, and I left you an eviction notice there. They come in the middle of the night, scoop up their stuff, and they'll leave, they'll go. Because a lot of times I learned that from telling people like, hey, you got to pack because you're getting evicted. They won't do it for nothing. And I'm like, they're not listening. I'm like, oh, no. It's not that they're not just listening. It's that they're embarrassed. They don't want to be in front of the others dealing with this.
Right.
So you learn these things as you go.
How long does it take for you from like the time that you submit paperwork for somebody to get the first check from social services?
Great question. So you got a couple of layers. They come from, usually there's multiple places they can come from. I don't like taking people from the centers. So social services has a center in, Coram, Riverhead, Deer Park, Smithtown, right? So they have these centers. So they can call and randomly send you somebody that just got out of jail. So somebody goes out of jail, and their address that day is social services. They have no place to go. They're out of jail. They're at social services. Social services has to place them. They call you up. Hey, do you have any beds? Yes, I have a bed. I have so-and-so. This is their age. They just started an active case. Just got out of, they're on parole, whatever it is. Okay, fine. They come in. They're going to write a rent voucher. I'm going to get that rent voucher within 10 days. That rent voucher is going to be on that 309 divided by 30 rate. So if it's 10 days into the month, they're going to give you that math. If it's 15 days into the month, 13, they give you that math. It's going to be $10.30 a day. Then if their case is if their case is still in the eligibility process, follow me here. I'm sorry. I know what you asked me is a loaded question. If it's on that, I have to take them back. So sometimes that rent might be until their next appointment. They got to go for an employee appointment, some sort of eligibility appointment. They have to bring in some kind of paperwork, bank statement, something. So there's going to be till that date. So then we got to go in, do that. Then I'm going to write another rent voucher. I'll get that one in less than 10 days. So you might be getting little pockets of money, right? Like I got $103 then I got another $117 or whatever it is, right? Until you get the case open. Once you get the case open, clockwork, first week of the month, 309 on that person. Boom, 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 boom. Once that case is open, you're allowed to submit the SSP. Now the SSP is as soon as they can come out to get you to do the inspection. If your house is rolling, which ours are, when it's a new house, it's different. But once you're rolling and you're getting inspected every 60 days, your inspection's passed. So you fill out an SSP, they submit it to the inspection unit, and they just pass you. And now that next month, you're going to start getting 625. And then you're going to get a couple of 316 checks because that last 2 months. So like sometimes I'll get $1,580 on a client because I got back pay for the last couple of months.
Right.
Like maybe they took 3-4 months to process it. So I'll get that month's pay plus the last 3 or 4 months on top of it. The 316 part. Once the 309 is open, that comes like clockwork. So it's almost like a little bit of a savings as well. What I've learned to do is I built relationships with shelters. So there's particular shelters I like to work with. There's other shelters I don't like to work with. So the shelters will use you as a hot potato. They got a problem with somebody in the shelter. They're going to send them to your house because that's their way to get rid of them out of the shelter. They have more red tape. They can't just evict people. They got to go through all this process with the county because they're a nonprofit. They're taking grant money. They're a completely different type of entity. So they got a lot of red tape. So they got to do incident reports and all this stuff. Where if they send them to me, they know I could just get rid of them. So sometimes I'm like, listen, if you're trying to eject this person out of the shelter, I'm going to evict them in 2 days. Like, just at least warn me. Like, don't, I'm buying this person new sheets, like, just
Right.
warn me. So I know that I'll evict that person the same day. I don't care. But they're worried they don't warn me because sometimes they'll end up back in that shelter. What the shelter does is they get rid of them to my house, then they fill the bed with a new person, and so on. The cycle continues.
Right.
I built some good relationships with a couple of directors. So now what they do is they have a list of people that they do case management. Those cases are already open. And they've been there for a month, maybe 2 months or whatever, and they know the behavior. So they're like, hey, I know Joe and Jacob run a great house. I want to send John to their house. Joe, I got John here. His case is open. All you got to do is submit him for SSP. Great, done. He comes in, I bring him down. We submit SSP. I'm getting back pay from that day. So like they're in at that 309 rate, but I'm going to get the 316 for that month as well because I don't have to go through the eligibility process. So now 99% of the time, I only take people from shelters because I know it's not 100%. That person's behavior in a shelter could be very different than when they are in my house because we have more freedom. They have a curfew in the shelter. They have 24-hour staffing in the shelter. It's different. We don't have that. We don't physically have that. They also, if everybody wants to get sick right now, a shelter is a minimum $4,500 for a bed is what they're paying in a shelter. Yes. So, depending if they have other problems, health problems or things like that, they might be getting up to $6-7 grand for a person a month on a
Per person. That's insane.
It's sick. And they'll have 60 to 70 people in some of these larger shelters. Yeah, you start thinking about the numbers, it's mind blowing. So at 625, I can't do those kind of numbers. I mean, that kind of support staffing.
Right.
Interrupt right there because you're on a roll.
Sorry.
when you're talking about the number of beds in shelters, I was unfortunately dealing with an aggressive animal case about 10 years ago, and in Colorado Springs, the man in front of us, he was homeless and he was trespassing, and this was his third violation, and he's sitting in front of the judge, and the judge is like, there's homeless shelters, why don't you go to these places? And he's like, Judge, have you ever been into a homeless shelter? Have you ever seen the mental illnesses that are in the filthy? They're violent. You're not getting actual help because of how large these things are. And to me, that was eye-opening even back then. I was like, holy cow, man. Like, how are you going to break out of these cycles if the environment that you surround yourself with is that way? So no, excellent. Yeah.
Well said.
Last question for me. I didn't know if you are willing to share like what on a house that's where all your beds are full, what are you cash flowing net on average, I guess. That's probably a loaded question too, because some of your houses have like 19 beds and some of them have, I guess I don't know what numbers you could share. Whatever.
Yeah. No, happy to share numbers, right? So I do, so I'm nuts. I have spreadsheets for all this kind of stuff because I worked at Apple. So that's why me and Jacob work together. Jacob is a bull. So just for a little funny thing, Jacob, military, FDNY, he's like 6'4", 230 pounds, tattooed, wrists to neck, all over. The guys always joke that Jacob looks like he should live in one of the houses, and all of them are like, I joke all the time that like, it's easy, I'm 5'9", 150 pounds. So I always joke like the reason why it's easy for me to evict people is because they know Jacob's going to show up if they don't listen to me. So he's a bull and just gets anything done. He's an absolute detailed machine animal. I do all of the like spreadsheet, detailed number stuff, projections, forecasting, everything. So I did a breakdown out of that 625 based on how often you do evictions, based on how often you get new people at that 309 with them coming in and have to go through the eligibility process. If you don't make 625 a person, we averaged in our first year about 590 a person. So on those numbers, based on the mortgage, taxes, insurance, if we borrowed money, utilities, money we put aside for repairs, things like that, you net about 25 to 3,000 a month on a house. So between me and Jacob, we'll net up around 1,300 to 1,500 each on a house. A lot of money, like I said, we put it back into things because we're always rolling it forward because we're getting the next house. We're getting we're just trying to stack as much as possible. But our average is somewhere around 9,500 gross, and then your net somewhere around 2,500 up. I'll keep it lower, about 2,500 net. But you're working. I've had conversations with PML. This is my whole goal of getting into sub 2 was to meet PMLs and learn how this process works. I see ads of Pace Morby talking about 100% financing, and I'm like, screw this. I'm tired of spending money. I want 100% financing. Like, I'm actually trying to do it with one property right now. We're trying to get, a PML in, but a lot of times PMLs are like, hey, you're making so much money, I want more money. And I'm like, could you please not look at me like that? Like, I'm going to stop showing people my numbers because I'm not an ATM machine. Like, I'm not sitting behind a desk and like, just like, cold calling is not easy by any means, but like, I am in the streets. I am out there with black garbage bags. I am cleaning up, when like, if Jacob and I, because it's $700 to do one of those calls, we will take the sump pump out for the downstairs toilet when it's, because we have basements finished. We'll take that sump pump out. And I am going through, I'm sorry, people, but I'm going through human shit to get those wipes out of that sump because it's a $700 call. And we can't afford to spend $700 on these people putting wipes in our toilet. Like, I'm going to do it myself. So, trying to explain that to PMLs is like, look, I get it. If I was sitting and you were sitting and we were getting mailbox money, I get it. But like, if you're not out here on the streets with me, I can't give you equity. I can't give you these absurd percentages because like, it just, to me, doesn't make sense. If they were, and not to get onto that tip, but I mean, if someone is, to make it short as possible, I'm not interested necessarily in who gets a piece of the pie. I'm interested in, if we work together, do you make the pie bigger? And then we all get a bigger piece. It doesn't, you know what I mean? It's just, let's figure who can make the pie bigger is what's, to me, is the biggest, most important factor.
That's excellent. And that's it. Going off of that, so that's one thing that I'm working on. I actually have a call in about an hour with a wholesaler, door knocker. He's working on co-living as well, and we're forming teams. I'm tired of forming teams about each deal, and I'm actually trying to form a team for all deals. And so he's going to be the acquisitions guy. I'm going to be the operations guy. I have the systems and processes that I'm working on in order to make that happen. But when it comes to PMLs, PMPs, one thing that I'm working with a bunch of different people on is, hey, if you can afford the acquisition for like the hard money, the 10% down, and then we can get you out with the DSCR loan, or there's another thing I'll go into in a second. Would that be okay? If it's 90 days, I have a Rolodex full of people that are like, oh yeah, 90 days on in, any day of the week. And it's like, I really need that 6 months, because when we crack open a wall or something and it pushes the actual, us able to get the appraiser out and do all that stuff, it might bust that 90 days. So having that Rolodex full of people for that 6 months on end, like that could be a lot better. And it's tough, especially inside of the community. And a lot of people, when I'm talking with them, they're like, hey, we are fast money. We are rollover from fix and flip into sale. And it's more of a traditional type of private money, as opposed to the individuals that you meet where they want the long burn. And I look for people who want to continue to earn money alongside of me. And they know that it's not going to be that 30% return. It's not going to be that 25% return. Although with co-living, as you know, you told us you're getting like 1,300 per person, like just put a percentage to that, and it's like, yeah, this asset class, it's not even an asset class. This strategy for operations is extremely forgiving. It's extremely fruitful, but you have to put in the work for it. And so that's what we are doing, is we are looking for people who want a longer burn that is safer, because once these things start rolling, it keeps rolling until you want to actually stop that train. And it's not like single family where you have to have the stuff inside of the reserves built in, because yeah, as soon as that family's out, you have to clean, you have to repaint, you have to do all those other things. Absolutely not the case in co-living. So I love it. Who was I talking with? Tracy Koa. And she brought up fractional on how to bring, I guess you can call it micro PMLs. So it's not one person having all of the risk when it comes to lending. And I just saw a Squad Up Summit quote, and it's kind of inappropriate, but it's still funny. It's when, a lady is pregnant, she gets congratulated that, she has a new life and all that other stuff. And that's what kind of investing is like, is everybody wants to congratulate you on this amazing thing that you have, but nobody ever asks you how many times you got screwed over. And I was like, okay, I think that was Grant Cardone on stage with the picture. And it's like,
That's who
jeez.
said it. You know,
Yeah,
hey,
I think
I'm
so. Yeah.
trying. You know, there's ladies and stuff. I mean, I know that I'm from New York, so you know, we say the worst things. So I saw that quote as well. I thought it was amazing.
And so one thing that I'm working on because of this whole like team thing, and you've heard of credit sponsors, you've heard of people bringing in like the acquisition money for like the 10%, the 20%, whatever it is down, to get the better interest rates. I'm in Living Smith with Grant Shipman. He started it. He's been doing co-living for almost 20 years up in Denver. He's using people who want to live in these houses as owner occupants. And so they're actually in a partnership, but they're getting the owner occupant interest rates from the banks because that's what it is. I'm going to live there for 12 months. And so give me that, 6.5% rate or, whatever it is compared to like a DSCR. My HELOC is sitting at like 8.5 or 9.5% right now. So, that could be another way to bring somebody else in, give them, hey, you can live in that house for free instead of whatever I would charge, $750, $1,000 a month, whatever it is. So that's your compensation. And then, maybe throw them like 5 to 10% equity on that just to sweeten the deal if they even need that. But some people, man, if you're offering them a free place to live while they have their, they can also be the credit sponsor, but while they're the ones that are actually on the loan, like that could be another way to do it. Liz? Oh, you're muted.
You have a deal and you have to come down with 10%. When you say long-term is 6 months, as what amount are you looking at? As a 6 months.
You mean for PML?
Yeah, someone to contribute to your co-living purchase.
Oh, so I think every deal would be different. So we were just having this conversation yesterday, Jacob and I. I'm trying to figure out how the numbers work. So here's what I would love to do for PML. And I was trying to figure out these numbers yesterday, but because of closing costs absolutely destroy you. It's just like that's the hurdle I'm trying to get over. I could get someone out in 3 months. We do everything and we know exactly what we're looking at. I've done electrical, plumbing. I've put in a brand new oil tank, brand new oil burner, stripped kitchen. Like when lenders have seen us like bring houses, they're like, no one's going to fund this house. This house is terrible. And I'm like, well, look at the ones we did. I have a portfolio of pictures and stuff that we did. And they're like, holy crap, you guys did that. You did that in 45, 60 days. Yeah, we don't mess around. We go in, Jacob and I go in and we do demo. We go like, this is not like, again, like we don't sit behind a desk. I'm there and I'm going to be like, I'm painting, I'm doing everything because like, it's got to get done. And it's just the best thing that I've learned because I've tried to do businesses of where I sit back and try to just delegate. And in the beginning, there's no way. There's just no way that me doing that like a bowl just makes it not only go faster and smoother, but there's a momentum. There's like I guess in like you could call it chi, but it's like there's energy behind that. So I'd love to be able to figure out the numbers for 3 months. I'm working on another deal right now where I have a PML that's agreed to 3 years. And a lot of it is just because they're down for the mission, so I think that it depends on what the person is looking for. I think it's less about the deal and more about the avatar. So when I thought about this in my head and I've started having conversations and learning how PML works, I don't think the right person for our business is the younger person that is looking to day trade, that they're looking to swing trade and like get like quick percentages on their money. I'm looking for the type of PML that wants to protect their retirement. So they want to get into something that they know they're going to lock in 15% of their money for the next year to 3 years. And they want to be in bonds. They want to be in things like that, where it's not volatile, where they're really risking losing a lot.
John, thank you very much, Joe. John, you said you were looking for with someone to lend money within 6 months. When you said 6 months, the amount for you also, the question is for you also.
Yeah, I'm not a fix and flipper. I want to get into that. Like right now I'm deployed. Half of my day, half of my year is taken up with being in the military. So it's just like I can't do that. I can't do 45 to 60 days. And when people are looking at that quick turn in order to lend, in order, the hard money just keeps racking up and racking up. So if I'm not there and I'm not capable of like overseeing all of these contractors and keep pushing the ball forward, like I need something that's extended, especially when we're talking about not only closing on the current loan. So, get that money in place. And then how long is it going to take to close? And then I need from that point to, do the actual flip and renovations. And then I have to work on getting another loan and however long that is going to take to close. Like I can't, I try to give people the complete picture, and it's like 6 months is pretty much worst case scenario. And whenever I'm doing that.
Because I don't mind piggybacking on someone. I don't mind pasting because right now, as I said, I've only been here for 3 weeks and the pacing is not a problem for me. I mean, I'm 56 years old, so I already have all my I's dotted and my T crosses. I just love I love helping because right now I have a co-living I live in Canada. I'm in Ottawa. So I have 4 tenants living there, common area they use. I just decided to do that instead of renting my whole house out for $3,500 a month to one family. No, there's too many people out there and they're young people and they're happy. And one of the person that I have living there, I pay her to clean the house just to make sure because the state I'm in, well, the province I'm in is not that friendly. Ontario is not that friendly. So
you're smart for giving somebody a little extra to clean because you don't have to worry about it. It's definitely, definitely very smart. John, you're spot on too about being present. Like for anybody that's interested in stuff like this, for any kind of, if it's flipping, if it's to refi it, any of that stuff. Like every time I'm physically there on site, I find something. I find, nope, this is not where the GFI is supposed to go. I need the countertops to go in like we got to focus on this room, do the floors first here. Like I always find something every time I'm there. So like being physically there, John, is like, you make a huge, huge point. I don't want to like gloss over that. It's like, even though you have a GC or people like that there that are overseeing the project, you have to, otherwise it won't get done the way you think you want it done.
Sure.
Nobody cares as much as you do.
Yeah, that's and we've gone into a lot of your operations, Joe, and it's fantastic. So thank you so much for sharing. We can stay on as long as folks are willing to just have conversations with one another. And Liz, so you're paying for cleaners. Joe, you expect people to just kind of clean for themselves and all that other stuff.
Part of the
way
house
that
rules.
Yep. And definitely I have house rules. It's if you're not having house rules, then you have nothing to stand on, because my 34-page lease agreements, part of that is a 5-page house rule document, addendum, I guess. And the lease points to the house rules point right back to the lease. So if you're not conducting your chores, I have a chore board, and the chores switch every week. Everybody is responsible for a different thing. And part of that is actually switching over the chore board and making sure people are doing that, because I'm trying to kind of alternate exactly who is not necessarily in charge, but just responsible for making sure that people are doing that. And Joe, to your point, you're able to create communities inside of your houses because you are that manager for the house. And then alternatively, I'm trying to create a household by having them kind of responsible and policing each other up at the end of the day. So no, it's excellent to hear your point of view and how you're actually able to get and accomplish pretty much the same thing.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that, man. That's exactly. They end up, like you said, they end up policing each other, they end up doing for each other. They end up pooling their food together and cooking together, things like that. But also too, with the time, it's my dad's birthday. I'm going to get in trouble. So I do have to jet. But you guys always can ask me anything. I'm trying to connect with people and we have our head down so often, like, doing all in our projects. Jacob and I pick very difficult things to do, I believe. So we don't spend time on here and in the group and stuff like that. So I appreciate the invite because I need to connect and like start to, find ways to all grow together.
Yeah, and for private money, if you have all of these documents, you have all these pictures, you have all of these success already done. Do you have a website? Do you have
No.
where people can, no, get a website, put all of the stuff that you already have on there and put it on there so people can just type in your website and see all of the projects you have done, how you are doing, and it is pretty much going to sell it for you. That's what I've been noticing a lot of the big capital raisers doing, and it's like their name. I'm looking for like johnriordan.com, and then it's like, hey, invest with me, my portfolio, how I'm doing it. This is all the people I'm connected with, all the different nonprofits, and then you can start to get into like affiliate marketing too. So that could be easier for you to actually market yourself. And then of course, all my social medias and stuff. So
No, that's important, man. I don't know if you guys know who Chino is in the group. Chino Monte. He does this
Monte.
like in Nevada a lot. And so he like saw we connected a lot and he had the same conversation. He was like, "Are you posting on social media? Are you doing stuff on social media?" And I was like, "Man, I'm not doing anything." I was like, "I'm just trying to get these houses done." So that was why I was like, "All right, let me post something in the group." And I posted one thing in the group and we ended up here. So you're right, man. I appreciate that.
And like Sherry, that's what I was gonna say. If you're interested in what Joe's doing, Chino is the one in Vegas that is just knocking it out of the park. And he's doing the same thing. He's meeting with people on the street, like sitting down, bringing lunch to people and finding out like how he can bring like value. It's nuts how he's doing it. And I've never talked to the guy. It's only his social media.
Thanks for that. Appreciate it.
Joe, have a good time with your dad.
Thanks.
Thank you
Appreciate
so
it very
much.
much. Appreciate you guys. Sorry to talk so much, but I try to get everything as much out as I could.
Appreciate it. Thanks.
Thanks. Have a good day.
Thank you.
Yeah, that was awesome. So what do you ladies want to talk about? Anything in particular?
I do. I have like so many things that I want to ask, but I got to take my dog out. I got to make breakfast. I got to do some stuff, but.
So to keep from like burning out on like co-living and have the same stories week after week, I have these every other week. Right now in 2 weeks on Sunday, because next week it's all going to be about squad up and everybody talking about that. So I think in 2 weeks, it'll be good. Talk about, hey, this is what I've worked on. This is, the way forward with what I'm doing. This is what difficulties I've seen. So yeah, no issues.
Cool.
That sounds good. Right now I'm just focusing on trying to connect with lenders initially. And I've really looked at the fractional. You mentioned that with Tracy Koa and Dustin. I went through the co-living course. But I feel like in that course, we could get more really detailed into the underwriting. The generic spreadsheet that's available. I mean, we really need something more robust, especially if you're going to be looking for PMP or PML. So I'm kind of looking at different resources. So I don't know if any of you already have like a really robust spreadsheet that you work with that maybe you're willing to share or direct me to where you got it and I can reach out to that individual. Or if you're working with any lenders currently that are, are lending on the co-living model. I don't know if you have any of those. I did write down all the lenders through Pad Split that they have. I haven't connected with them yet. So that's kind of my next step in goals. So.
No, that's good questions. Yeah, I just use my regular spreadsheet to determine like ROI and I throw in all of the reserves and the PITI and all that into there. What comes out what I find different, because I maintain the common areas for the properties. So I buy toilet paper, I buy paper towels, because that's one less area of conflict. You know, I don't want people to take their toilet paper from their room and then bring it in. I buy the nice Charmin, the double, layer so that they'll actually use it. And then I don't run into wipe issues. I don't run into people taking too much toilet paper. It's like I would rather spend 20 bucks, 50 bucks a month to reduce any conflict in that regard. All of my pots and pans, they're mine. All of my plates, they belong to the house, not to these individuals. And everything for like conflict, that's like safety, comfort, and conflict resolution are like the main ways that I go about it. And I throw all that into the spreadsheet on expenses for startup.
Right.
For like 2,000 square foot house, it's pretty much $1 per square foot is what I try to stick around in order to set it up. And I go on to Craigslist, I go on to Facebook Marketplace for the couches, for the furniture, and those things. So no, I don't really use anything special. It's just for like operational budgets when it comes to utilities. I pay, but they pay me a flat rate. And then if they keep letting, they take half an hour showers and all that stuff, I tell them, hey, I'm going to send you every month the electricity, the water, and if you see on the bill that you're spending more than $100 a person or whatever the flat rate is for that house, I'm going to have to increase the utility usage. So it actually is a forcing function for them to be responsible with the utilities. They try and use as little as possible.
So you're not following the pad split model at all, I think I heard you say, right?
No, I don't. I try to do all of my self-management, even on my single family long-term rentals.
Right.
I found that it's really hard to manage other property managers, which is not why I hired them in the first place. And so I just got tired of it. I'm like, okay, I'll do it. I'll spend the, whatever it costs to gain an education in the space and just do it myself.
Okay. And you're not converting, let's say you buy a 5-bedroom, 2-bath, you're not doing any conversions of the living spaces into additional rooms.
Yes, but with intention. So instead of the intent being to cram as many people into a house as possible, I try to maximize the parking spaces, and I always go for one parking space for every bedroom, and that's another conflict resolution technique. And then I also want spaces where people will interact with each other instead of floating through life as strangers. That's like not what people are looking for. People are looking for human interaction, and I'm trying to form these households so that they can have, a common respect for one another. And that is couches, that is dining room tables that can
Right.
fit everybody plus guests. So the most recent acquisition, it was a 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath. I actually wanted to double close it and sell it, but after I hit the first holding period, I'm like, oh man, I don't want to pay mortgage anymore on this. So I immediately switched it over to co-living. We're about ready to put in a 4th bedroom because this 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath had 2 living rooms. And it's like, that's it. On the one hand, you want people to congregate and you want them to have this respect for privacy and all that other stuff. But on the other hand, you don't want to have so many little nooks that that people can just like disappear and kind of like fall back into the like I'm by myself and this is my private living room, all of that. So it's an intentional switch from having 2 living rooms to 1, but that living room is large enough for everybody to enjoy.
Right. Okay. Have you watched any of the fractional offerings that Tracy's had?
I watched partial. I just need to sit down and find time with a lot of I need to finish the co-living semester. I need to watch the fractional offerings. I know they just had one on Tuesday.
Right.
And I think it's very powerful, especially when it comes to individuals who are like, yeah, I don't know if I want to give you $40,000. It's like, you don't have to. You can give me 5,000 and I'll find, however many people, 8 people to do that.
Right.
And
If
give
you,
everybody,
yeah,
go ahead.
exactly. If you haven't joined the fractional, you should definitely go in and do that. There's no obligation, but you can join different groups within fractional. Because I watched another individual who they were looking for like 415,000. They wanted to buy 4 houses, and just to see what their presentations are and get an idea, because eventually I think most of us are going to need some sort of private money in a way. So it gives a good round look at how different people are doing their offerings, what they're presenting, who's on their team, things like that, especially for like me, when I'm looking at developing my teams. It's definitely, I highly recommend just learning a little bit about fractional and joining the different groups and seeing the different offerings. Because in Tracy's first offering, I think it was for 245,000. Don't quote me on that, but within 15 minutes of them starting, they had almost their people had invested, and they almost had filled the offering. So it was amazing. But the other one I looked at, which this person wasn't in sub 2, I didn't really know much about her, but she has been in the co-living space in North Carolina. I didn't see the progress in her offering where a lot of people were investing. And I ended up dropping off later, but I think at the time she would only gotten up to maybe $30,000 at that point. So big difference. And really, I think it has a lot to do with community and putting yourself out there, like you mentioned, on social media.
That is such an important point. People invest in the person. And if they don't know you, if they don't see what you're about,
Right.
like the numbers can be great, but
Right.
something always happens. And I would rather something happens to where I can sit down and have a frank conversation and we know where we're coming from, as opposed to like this bank borrower type of, I guess, friction that can exist in that. And like Tracy and Dustin, they put on the co-living
Right.
semester. So people are like, they know exactly what they're talking about. And then they see the presentation, and it's like, that's what I expected from them. Of course, I'm going to invest with them.
Right. The caveat difference that I noticed with the other offering, the sub 2 offering versus not sub 2, but the community, is the other person wasn't offering training, like wasn't offering the path for you to learn with them. And I think that was kind of key too, because there's a lot of newer people who want to get their foot in the door, put the $5,000, least path of resistance to get and invest. Liz, do you agree?
I know. It's just, I'm new to the team, but just so many things going on. I don't mind pacing and putting up $5,000. I mean, yes, Canadian funds, it's about close to $8,000 for me, but that's not a problem, but it's just so many things going on and you don't know really where to go.
Well, just staying focused in one area, like they're just strictly doing co-living. So staying just narrow-minded and focused, and at least for a minimum of 6 months, staying really focused on that. But what Tracy was offering and Dustin were offering is an additional training. And I think that was key to why people wanted that offering. Or if you invested 10,000, you were going to their mastermind. They're going to have a mastermind in Hawaii. Again, people were interested in getting more knowledge and learning. So I felt that was the key to why their offerings, they were able to get the money that they needed for funding for their properties.
Yeah, and it's as simple as just having open office hours where it's like, hey, we are making these decisions on our investment. You guys can come in and I'm going to explain exactly why and how we came up with this conclusion, and just having that once a week, every other week, whatever that might be, like that resonates with people.
Yeah, and, absolutely. It was amazing.
Who was the connector? Tony Schwartz. He started a website, and it was to bring deals. I believe it was called Deal Central. He stopped that because it wasn't earning any money. Where he was earning his money, he called it the pace effect. It's where Deal Central pushed deals to him, even though it wasn't doing its thing that he wanted it to do. He was like, hey, I'm getting people calling me, texting me, offering me things just because I have a thing and it's successful and it's leading with value.
Right.
Same thing. If you are able to connect other people, if you're able to give even I don't want to say marginal because, you know, we look at marginal and it's like 10%. It's like, nah, I'll pass on that one. And it's like, no, that's actually really good. You know, I'm looking at my stock portfolio and I was happy that I, you know, got a 12% return this year. And it was like, okay. But the point is that especially when you're first starting out, like I only take a 5% management fee because I have a W-2. I am not looking to just rake in cash at this point. I want my PMLs, my PMPs. I want the other partners in my deals. And then I want the other folks that come along for the ride, the credit sponsors and all of that, to gain the knowledge, to gain what I am offering, which is more than just a monetary return. Like
Right.
I spent $10,000 to learn how to manage co-living, and I want to give out as much knowledge as possible so you don't have to.
Yeah, no. And I think that's key too, because we all want to be successful in our own way, but giving back to others, that would be the ultimate once I'm established, is to be able to definitely give back as far as like taking someone brand new and getting them to where they need to be so that they can be successful. So that's key. I have to jump off because I have another call coming
Absolutely.
up, and 2, I need to eat. So thank you
Yep.
for having this, John. I really appreciate it. I like it. I will definitely be, next Sunday works for me, or the 2 weeks works for me. So I appreciate you.
Awesome. Thank you so much,
Thank
Sherry.
Thank you, Liz.
You
All right.
too. I'll be
All right.
back.
I'll be back.
I need to ask you a
Awesome.
question.
Bye.
Bye. Are you looking for anyone to pace with you? Are you looking for investors? Are you looking for anything? Because I mean, co-living, as I said, I was looking at the mobile, because I know people are like, can't afford housing. So I'm like, if I get myself into a mobile home, but I realize the mobile homes in them are like $1.4 million. I need it becoming expensive. And co-living, I'm looking at very much because I said I already have one in Canada. And I love to extend that in the States. I just need to get my feet in there. I have a home right now in Florida. So I'm not new to investing. I have a home, a 2,200 square feet home in Tampa, Florida, that I have a tenant living there, that the rent they're paying is a joke. I just keep them in there because the mortgage is paid off and everything. But I need something. That's with my husband and I just need to piggyback with someone. I need to do something. And I don't,
Yeah.
I find I'm ex-military myself. I just find myself trying to get in to something now. It's just a little, I'm having a little. So when I met Daniel and he asked me, I said, please, can I join? You know, can I? He said, yeah, call him and ask him. That's how I ask, you know. I really want to be a part of something. I have a brother-in-law that lives also in out not where you are, Colorado. Yeah.
Mhm.
Lives out there. So
Yeah. So how I'm forming my teams is I'm finding out what people want to do. You know, like if you want to be co-living and you don't know, you know, you want your foot in the door, yeah, we could talk about like an investment, more or less passive, but team meetings. So in about 30 minutes, I have this call with his name's Garrett. He's also in sub 2 in Colorado Springs, and he's going to be the acquisition guy. And then I have another individual in Colorado Springs who's a sub 2 student, and he's interfacing with all the nonprofits. We already have about 25 veterans that need housing right now. And and I'm doing the operation. So the only pillar we're really missing at this point is going to be the funding thing. And we're looking at class A, class B. I'm trying to find people to actually live in the house. And, you know, some of these houses are 4,000 square feet. The bedroom master bath combo, it's as large as some of the apartments that people can find downtown. So it's like, how would you like to be a partner, B, live for free? That's your compensation. And the only thing you have to do is live in the house in order to give us that interest rate. And so actually, you know, if they bring money, great. If they can bring their credit, great.
Right,
But
so they
at
end
the
up
end of
being on,
yeah.
they end up being on the lease itself, the deed itself. So it's like an
Yeah,
investment that they're making. So they're really literally investing into the room that they're in.
it's
I'm
a
not
house
just
hack.
living there, but I'll be an owner of it.
Yep. It's a house hack where instead of you buying the house yourself, you're
Mhm,
buying the house with the other partners in the deal,
mhm.
and then you can just walk away and wash, rinse, repeat. You know, the best scenario would be finding somebody to move every year. And
Mhm.
then, we just use the same person to buy all of these properties, and, whoever puts the down payment, whoever, does whatever, they're also on the mortgage and also a partner in the deal. And then we just continue to roll from there.
So now you're
Yeah.
looking for this.
Mhm.
Need about a good amount of those. 5,
Let
10,000.
me,
Yeah. So
yeah,
let me
you're on Facebook? Yes, we met on
yeah,
Facebook, right?
yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
I'll connect with you on there because I like to post these. I don't want you to put out your uh, number or anything like that, and it goes on YouTube.
Well, you have my
So,
email. It's the whole thing is that Facebook is just so much things going on and everybody posts things. So it's just like
yep,
I miss everything because it goes down to the bottom. There is no pin to bring it back on top, and so if you could send me an email, as I said, I love to be a part of something that is this because I realize a lot of veteran, and I always tell my husband, I say it's so sad how we give so much and by the time we reach a certain age, we have nothing. And like no one cares.
yeah,
Canada is a little bit different with a veteran. Doesn't mean that we don't have that issue either. Is that it's being pushed under the table or under the couch. No one sees it. But because we have 40 million people, you guys have 400 million people. It's two different things. And we don't have, you guys have this law that you reach a certain age, you have to join the military. Canada doesn't have that. They don't have that. It says volunteer. I just say, okay, I want to be in the military. I volunteer myself. But we don't have that kind of law, whereas America has it. It's two different things. And most of your people end up veteran on the street, which is a
yeah.
sad.
A lot of people, and it's not so much a law to have to join. It's a lot of laws for protection, a lot of laws for compensation, and a lot of people do go in. Like I was studying architecture for 2 years, and
Okay.
A, I ran out of money to go to school. B, I was a horrible student, but I wanted to continue my education. And I'm like, well, I don't have any money. So I heard that the Army would pay for me to actually go in.
Correct.
And 20 years later, here I still am, and I'm still loving it. And I've learned so much stuff. Architecture is a passion. In real estate, I get to still use the things that I learned, and that's great. But now I'm firmly in managerial stuff and all that, but the different laws for compensation, VA benefits, disability
Wow.
benefits, and all that other stuff. The problem is that once you're out, you could have fallen off of a building, and now you have a traumatic brain injury, and it's like the ability for you to live normally. A lot of people are damaged in a way that's impossible. So the things that Joe's getting after, different veteran housing, it resonates very strongly with me because there's a lot of, I've been around explosions. I've hit my head more times than I can count, and I can't sit in the passenger seat anymore, and I'm
Yeah, you
40
gotta be
years
in the
young,
front.
so it's like I have to be driving, and even that when I'm driving through a city, I'm just like, here comes the migraine. So
Yeah.
I totally get that.
It's a
So
lot. You ever thought about you're doing the homes in the co-living? You ever thought about the RV, the mobile home, saying it's bigger, more of the veteran could be in it because they pay less? You ever thought about that way? That kind of facility instead of a building? Just asking.
yes. And so my co-living, the reason I'm doing co-living is because right now where I am, it's the only way that I can get these properties to actually cash flow so I can roll over and get another building. There's so many people that need help with affordable housing that I'll eventually get into mobile home parks. I know I
Okay.
will. It's just I don't have the means to do that. That's probably step 2. Right
Okay.
now, I'm able to do single family, and I'm not talking like putting 13 people, 19 people. No, you
How much do
know,
you put in how much do you put in a home? Let's say a 2,000 square feet or 1,500 square feet. How much do you put in there?
so my last one, it's only going to have 4 people
Okay, just take the
because
one.
there's 2 spots in the driveway. There's one right in front, and I'm going to make another spot off of
Okay.
the driveway so that that's the maximum amount of cars I can fit in there. I'm not going to take all of the living space out.
Right.
So
And per
yeah,
person, how much do they pay per person? How much do you charge per person to live?
I don't want to bring it up right now. This
Sorry,
7-year-old computer is gonna like
That's
crash on
fine.
me if
That's
I
fine.
try.
That's fine.
No. I look up what the government will pay based earn for the average medium income. For
Okay.
example, in Colorado Springs, 40% of if you earn 40% of average medium income, a studio apartment goes for $728. Now, I'm not talking about a studio apartment. I'm talking about a single room with a shared bathroom.
Mhm.
I can charge $750 and people will take that all day.
Okay. Mine is 8. I charge 8 and everything is included. And
Yep.
yeah, I
Oh,
charge.
I charge $750 and then for that house,
Mhm.
and some utility companies will tell you, some won't. You can call the utility company before you buy the house, find out what is the average usage for that house.
Correct.
And then you can do your math, and I just charge $100 flat utilities, and that includes internet, that includes,
Okay.
all
All right.
the things.
Okay. All right then. Well, not a problem. I'll wait for your call and see how I can be a part of it. Would love to be, but it's up to you guys. And I will do what I need to do because I really have to get my feet inside and
Yeah,
not thinking about I need to do something and I need to do something.
that's his name's Joe. He's a Gator, and when I was bringing him on to this project, I was like, this isn't a grand slam. I'm not earning very much money out of this. And frankly, I want to get you your money back as fast as possible so we can go to the next deal together.
All right.
So it's a base hit as possible. And he's like, that's all I wanted to get myself, because the more wins that you have, the better
Mhm.
portfolio that you can show people. It
Correct.
demonstrates that you are able to produce, and then that
Correct.
energy attracts more. And so,
Correct.
yeah, no, you and I are on the same thing. I'm not
Yeah, correct.
looking
I
to get
mean,
rich tomorrow.
oh no,
I
no.
want, to actually build a community. I want to make friends in this.
Correct, correct. I mean, as I said, I already did my stuff in Canada. There's nothing to do anymore because there's everything is just so expensive. Like it doesn't even make sense. And we don't have the same lending system, the same creative. It just doesn't make sense anymore. And then just having the one home in Florida, I'm like, okay, I could do other things. But I was looking at Long Island myself, but I was looking really at a mobile place just to see, bigger 7 acres. I'm like, I could put a lot of things in here if I can get a county to help me and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I love to be a part because what Joe is doing is really awesome with those people in New York because it's rough. It's rough. But not a problem. Thank you very much for your time and have a pleasant
Thank
day
you, Liz.
and let me know how much if I can help. Okay?
You as well. There's this juxtaposition with you in a hoodie and then your background of a
I
beautiful
know because I'm cold, but this is my dream. That's my
There
dream
you go.
behind there. That is my
You go.
dream. I want to retire in the heat.
We'll see if we can help each other out of that.
Yeah, why not?
Thank you so
Okay,
much,
have a
Liz.
pleasant day. Thank you.